That completely reframes how authorities might need to respond. Viewing it differently, have you ever thought about what it really costs to, break away? To choose something completely different from the life you were born into, especially when that choice involves family, community, even your own safety?
It's a profound question, isn't it? And it's exactly what we're exploring today.
Yeah, today we're doing a deep dive into a really powerful memoir testimony. It's called Apostate: Conversion, Exile, and a Warning to the West by Sabatina James. And this book, it offers just an extraordinary look at one woman's journey from a life pretty much mapped out by tradition to one defined by freedom. But the price she paid was just astronomical.
Absolutely. And our mission today really is to get beyond just the surface story. We want to understand the cultural mechanics behind it all, the pressures, the conflict, the sheer stakes of her decision.
Right.
And crucially, we need to unpack the warning she issues. It's specifically directed at Western societies, focusing on things she lived through, like honor violence and forced marriage.
Okay, so let's set the stage a bit first. Tell us about her background.
Sure. So Sabatina James grew up in what she describes as a devout Muslim family, likely with roots in Pakistan. Her upbringing sounds quite traditional: intense religious education, time in a madrasa. Basically, she was being prepared for a very specific, predetermined path in life.
That context is so important.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just a casual background, it was like active preparation for a certain role.
Exactly.
Which makes her eventual resistance even more striking. So let's talk about that turning point. The central conflict seems to revolve around marriage, right?
Yes, specifically an arranged marriage. The sources indicate she was being prepared, essentially pushed into a marriage with a male relative. She describes it as enforced, coerced.
And at that moment, what did refusing that mean for her personally?
Oh, it meant everything. It was a complete rejection of the path laid out. In that kind of collectivist cultural context where family honor is paramount, marriage isn't really a personal choice, it's more like a social contract.
A requirement, almost.
Pretty much, yeah. It secures the family's standing, her place within it. So her refusing wasn't just disagreeing about who to marry, it was like challenging the entire system.
Wow.
The moment she said no, she was basically declaring, well, maybe not war, but certainly a deep conflict with her family's expectations, her community's norms.
That must have ignited things immediately, a real flashpoint.
Absolutely. That single act of saying, no, this isn't my life, it pushed her right to the margins.
Right.
And it highlights this recurring theme you see in similar stories, this intense clash between individual desires, personal autonomy, and these deeply embedded cultural expectations. The stakes are just incredibly high.
Especially for women in that situation.
Exactly. For a woman to break that kind of agreement often means huge family conflict, being shunned, and unfortunately often facing the threat of violence. Violence intended to restore the family's so-called honor.
Which unfortunately leads us to the next major event in her life.
Yeah.
An even bigger step, really. Her conversion to Christianity.
Yeah.
It seems the resistance to the marriage ultimately set her on a totally different spiritual course. Now, for many listening, changing your faith might be a very personal, private decision. But for James, reading her account, it feels like an act of, existential rebellion.
The gravity of that choice within her specific context, it really can't be overstated. When she converted, she went from being someone resisting a marriage to being labeled, in the eyes of her former community, an apostate. And if you look at certain interpretations within Islamic law, apostasy isn't just changing your mind about religion. It's considered a serious offense, potentially even punishable by death.
Okay, hang on. Let's pause there. Being labeled an apostate, what did that actually mean for her, practically? Day to day, because it sounds like her life was immediately in danger.
It absolutely was. The memoir details the immediate, overwhelming consequences. It forced her into hiding, essentially, into flight.
We're talking actual threats?
Yes, severe, credible threats on her life. Enough that she had to flee urgently. She needed to essentially create a new identity, live under constant police protection. She was forced into exile permanently.
That's not just moving house.
I know, this is total severance, cutting ties with family, culture, her entire past, just to stay alive. It's the ultimate example of risking absolutely everything: safety, identity, belonging, for the freedom to believe what she chose.
It really brings home what freedom of conscience means when it's not guaranteed, doesn't it? It makes the abstract idea terrifyingly real. You have to fight for it, run towards it.
That's the heart of her testimony, I think. And importantly, she didn't just survive this trauma. She gained this unique, hard-won perspective on how culture, faith, and safety intersect.
And that experience gives her the standing, maybe the moral authority, to speak out.
Precisely. It allows her to shift from just telling her personal story to making a broader social critique.
Which brings us to the core reason she seems to have written this book for a Western audience. The warning in the title. She's not just asking for sympathy, she's pointing to what she sees as a systemic issue, a failure, in the societies where she sought refuge.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack that warning.
Yeah.
What specific points is Sabatina James trying to alert Western readers to?
She outlines 3 main concerns, and they're all interconnected. First, she argues that Western societies often misunderstand. They fail to grasp the sheer intensity of the internal pressures, the social and cultural forces that women face within some immigrant Muslim communities.
So there's a risk that if we in the West are just focused on, say, protecting cultural differences broadly, we might actually overlook individual suffering because of certain aspects of that culture.
That's exactly her point. Policies designed to protect minority groups might inadvertently silence or endanger minority voices within those groups, people seeking basic individual rights.
Okay, what's the second point?
Her second major caution is about the risks faced by people who leave their traditional faith, like she did, the apostates. She warns that institutions here often fail to recognize the potentially lethal danger these individuals can face even in their new home countries.
The threat doesn't just stay behind. It can follow them.
Yes, often perpetuated by the very family or community members they fled from. And this links to a key concept she emphasizes: honor violence.
Right, and that's distinct from other types of violence.
Yes, it's crucial to understand. Honor violence isn't just domestic abuse, though it can overlap. It's often premeditated violence threats, kidnapping, even murder, used specifically to punish someone, usually a woman, perceived to have shamed the family. This could be related to sexuality, marriage choices, or, like in James's case, religious conversion.
And she feels the West sometimes miscategorizes this.
She argues, yes, that it's sometimes treated as a standard domestic dispute, missing the deeper cultural roots and the element of restoring family honor, which changes the whole dynamic and the level of danger.
That completely reframes how authorities might need to respond. Viewing it differently changes the required preventative measures. What's her third concern?
The third ties into institutional response, or rather the lack thereof. She expresses deep concern about the failure of Western authorities, police, social services, the legal system to adequately tackle honor-related violence and especially enforced marriage.
So, inaction. Or maybe just an inadequate response.
Both, perhaps. Her position seems to be that these aren't just isolated incidents. They're serious issues intersecting with migration, and they require specific, targeted responses that actually acknowledge the cultural drivers behind the violence. She felt her own safety and the safety of others like her was compromised because the system didn't fully take these dynamics seriously.
It sounds like a direct challenge then. It can't just celebrate diversity without also being absolutely committed to protecting individual human rights, even when those rights clash with certain cultural norms. She's asking Western readers to look closer, to acknowledge these real dangers.
That's the essence of her warning, yes. She's using her own harrowing experience as evidence, urging a rethink of how Western institutions prioritize individual safety, particularly around freedom of belief and protection from culturally driven gender-based violence.
But amidst all this trauma and ongoing danger, the story isn't just bleak, is it? The sources also emphasize themes of hope, of freedom found. That conversion, that exile, as dangerous as they were also acts of liberation for her.
Absolutely, that's a vital thread.
So what's the core message of hope she conveys, even with the risks she still faces?
I think the core is the deep sense of freedom she found, primarily in her Christian faith, but also more broadly the freedom that comes with living authentically. Her message seems to be a call to courage, to live boldly, not be paralyzed by fear, even when the fear is entirely rational.
Right.
She emphasizes that despite losing so much, her choice led to a life where she could be true to her own conscience, her own beliefs. And that, for her, is the ultimate freedom. It demonstrates that faith, especially when chosen against such immense pressure, isn't just a private matter. It has profound public, social, existential consequences.
It really shows that agency isn't always just given. Sometimes it has to be seized, through incredible personal sacrifice. She chose a spiritual path that cost her nearly everything tangible, but gave her something essential in return.
Exactly. And that immense personal cost lends so much weight to her ongoing activism and her warning. She's speaking from a place of lived experience, trying to protect others who might be navigating similar situations, facing forced marriage, contemplating leaving their faith in hostile environments. Her story offers a kind of roadmap for resistance, albeit a perilous one.
So just to kind of wrap up what we've explored in this deep dive on apostate, we've seen this incredibly powerful first-person story of navigating two completely different worlds, highlighting the true cost of religious freedom when it's not protected. We've shown a light on some really critical issues that often fly under the radar in the West, things like forced marriage, the very real dangers faced by apostates, and honor violence, especially how these play out in migration contexts.
Yes.
And ultimately, it's just a profound example of female agency, of someone claiming their right to choose against truly overwhelming pressure.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a really important question to think about. Given the experiences detailed in James's story, the exile, the need for constant police protection, the complete break from her past, what specific obligations do Western societies actually have towards immigrants when it comes to protecting individual rights? Specifically, freedom of conscience.
Right.
How can our institutions effectively intervene against deeply rooted cultural practices like enforced marriage or honor violence without endangering the very people seeking help, especially when the threat often comes from within their own community? It really challenges us to think beyond just general policies and consider the individual human reality behind these complex cultural transitions.
Grab The Price of Love by Sabatina James, now on sale, $14.95. Don't miss this chance and build good habits and achieve remarkable results. Buy now, today.
Like and subscribe for more Bookhaven podcasts.